Rabbi Friedman, hello. Thank God it's Tuesday. I am very, very happy that we can still keep our Thank God It's Tuesday program. A little bit different time, but nevertheless, a lot is happening. And the topic of today, obviously, is very actual. It's something that life is dictating to us. We just celebrated 4th of July, the Day of Independence of United States of America. And unfortunately, patriotism is way down. It's down, and some of the surveys that have been taken is that when, especially among young adults, age 18 to 25, when they were surveyed as far as if they think or feel patriotic these days, the numbers are only 34% of them that were surveyed do feel patriotic. So patriotism is really, really way down. Now, since we always look at life through the spectrum of morality, and I have actually done a lot of digging, which we'll go into during our conversation. Would you say patriotism is a moral thing or an immoral thing?
Morality says that if your country is good, you should support it. If your country is bad, you should fix it. In other words, there is no unconditional patriotism. Just because it's my country, it is always right? No, that can't be true. On the other hand, if it is your country, then you have a certain commitment or a certain obligation. All your charity begins at home, right? So the first recipients of your wisdom, of your talents, of your abilities should be your country. I mean, family first, and then community, and then city, and then country. But yes, you have a moral obligation to the country you live in. In fact, the Torah goes so far as to say that we have to be nice to Egyptians because we were once their guests. We once lived in their country. It wasn't a pretty story at all. We were enslaved there. But the fact is we were their guests. And for that alone, you should have a little gratitude or a little indebtedness. The question really is, should we expect patriotism from young people today?
Good question.
First of all, it's very hard for two reasons to feel patriotic. Number one, there are so many people. The country needs me? You got 200 million people. What do you need me for? So in the olden days, the numbers were not nearly so large, and everybody felt like their contribution might be significant. So that's one thing, just the sheer numbers. The other is, this is the price of success. When a country is doing very well, economically and militarily and politically, compared to the rest of the world, well, then you don't need my help. You're doing very well. So in what way should I be patriotic? To defend my country? Defend it against what? To make my country richer? Militarily stronger? What am I supposed to do to help my country? So it comes down to the very one single question that you're asking. What about morality? Is that a patriotic thing? To want the people of your country to be good people, to make the country a country of goodness. Is that patriotic? Yes. And today it's the only outlet. The only way we can express our patriotism is to make sure that this country produces good people. Goodness. And unfortunately, the irony of it is that the education that we get in this country is completely amoral or morally neutral. So how are we supposed to make better people if we don't educate for goodness? That's it. That's the dilemma.
Rabbi Friedman, before, a little bit more than a year ago, people were patriotic. People loved this country. I mean, what is patriotism? Is really loving the country you live in based on merits and virtues. And people were pretty proud to be live in America, be a part of America. And we always saw how on 4th of July, people expressed that proudness and that love for this country. And it so has changed in, again, a little over a year. Okay, let's say 2. Is it, what is the causes? Because the values have changed mainly? Is that why we're lacking this patriotism?
Oh, it's been a long time since patriotism was alive and well. Kennedy tried to stir up some feelings of patriotism. Reagan tried to stir up some feelings of patriotism. Trump certainly tried. America first. But it didn't sell. It didn't catch on because it's a lazy kind of love that we have for this country. Nobody's leaving. Nobody's running away, which tells you something.
I think all the rich people are planning to go to Mars, though. I mean, this is what's in the news.
That's because they don't know what to do with their money. There's nothing left in America that they can buy. But it's kind of like in a marriage. It's a lazy kind of love. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Everything's good. But patriotic, that means devoted. And we don't know how to devote. We don't know how to express devotion because of those 2 reasons. I don't think you need me, and I don't think there's any way that this country can improve. And the one way that the country can improve, we're not interested. We don't educate for it. So it seems to be a reality and a truth. What you educate your people for, that's what you're going to excel in. If you don't educate, you're not going to be good at it. So what are we educating our children for? To make money. That's it. And that can be a little destructive of the soul. It kills all your noble instincts because it's not asking you to contribute your goodness, your beauty. It's just training you to make money. And it's quite ironic that the people who make the most money are not the ones that were trained. They're the college dropouts. But the stable population, the stable income, was trained for that, is being trained for that, but for nothing else. And so that's all we got.
Rabbi Friedman, I mean, if we look at the news or we look at, what's being said out there, the concept is completely different than what you just said. It's, bring Trump back, get rid of Biden, or the other way around, impeach Trump so he never, so we always think that it's, whoever rules the country is the one who is either responsible for merits and values of the country, or the other way around, or failures. So how should we treat what's going on today, the divisiveness? I mean, realistically, all the Gallups are showing that the reason why people don't even want to put the American flag on their doors is because the American flag all of a sudden is a symbol of division, not of unity. So what is going on in the higher places that are kind of setting the tone for patriotism towards this country?
My suspicion is that it's a very small group of people who, for some reason and in some way, are benefiting from the division. But the average citizen who is anti-Trump or pro-Trump, it has nothing to do with the country. It seems to be just like a personal taste. And it's very intense. But whether it's good for the country or not good for the country doesn't seem to be a big issue. We're intoxicated with things like equality, equal opportunity. It's intoxication. It's fanaticism. Equal opportunity means people who are incapable should be as important and as recognized as those who are capable. That's not patriotic. That's destroying the country, destroying the society. So we're just reading in the Torah how one man, Pinchas, rose to the occasion and did something heroic, but radical, fanatical. And it was good. God was pleased. Right after that, Moshe asks God, tell me, who are going to be the leaders of the future when I'm gone? What is the connection to what Pinchas did? Moshe had always assumed that Pinchas was going to be the next leader of the people. But when he did this dramatic, zealous act, Moshe said, he is a great person. He is a great person. He cannot be the leader of the people. Because that kind of zealotry is good for special occasion, but not for running a country. What exactly is leadership? How do we get good leadership? Well, if you're drunk on equality and you treat all people equally, then there is no encouragement and there's no support for the most capable, the most talented, the most intelligent. Like I read once this criticism of the Christian world, or the Catholic world. You take the best, the most committed, the most ambitious, the most intelligent among your men, and you encourage them to become priests, which means they will not have children. So you're taking the top layer of highly intelligent, capable people in your society, and you're telling them not to have children. Is that a good idea for the genetic pool? See, Judaism did the opposite. Judaism venerated the scholar, always. The gifted are supposed to be supported. So in Judaism, you take the brightest, the most intelligent, the most motivated, the most capable, and you encourage them to become large families. Rabbis are supported so that they can afford to have large families. Makes a lot more sense. So the respect of the inequality, find the most gifted, and that's not by virtue of their of equal opportunity. The most gifted are born that way. Find them, identify them, and encourage them. And the result will be, life will be better for those who are not at the top of the social ladder.
Rabbi Friedman, but we don't have Moses anymore. Who is qualified to identify such individuals and give them the proper place and proper opportunities?
That's a good question. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why we have lost all respect for capable, intelligent, wise, older people. I think probably that's where it started. Back in the 60s, where anybody over 30 was irrelevant. So we don't respect native intelligence. We don't respect native wisdom. Native meaning born that way. And we don't respect age. We don't respect experience. And that's costing us terribly. So the Mishnah says, in Pirkei Avos, the Mishnah says, sit at the feet of the scholars and drink with thirst their words. I tell young women who are looking to get married, so what should you ask? What should you want to know or need to know about the person you're thinking of marrying? One of the questions a girl should ask the boy is, who is your mentor? Who is your authority in life? Who can tell you with authority that you're not behaving properly? And you'll accept it because you respect that person's opinion. If he says nobody, well, then you're on your own. You're entering into a dangerous zone. A man who has not found a mentor has not really become a man. You must have a mentor. Women don't need it. At least not as much. But a man needs a mentor. Because without a mentor, we men don't know where we stand. We don't know even whether we have become men. Because you can get stuck in boyhood and never become a man. The way we progress is if somebody we look up to, if somebody who has the authority, who has the respect, maybe even the awe of the younger men, if that kind of a person approves of me, then I have become a man. If I never get that approval, I never know where I stand, and that leaves me very vulnerable, and that scares me, so I have to become a macho guy, and I got to run around and beat up everybody just to prove that I'm a man. And interestingly, a father can't do that for you. Mm-hmm. The father can't be your mentor or your older male who can give you the approval. It's too close, too biased. And on one hand, every father will give his son approval. It doesn't really prove anything. Secondly, sometimes fathers are the last one to offer approval. So it tends to go to the extremes with a father. Where somebody said, you can't look up to your father for approval because you're competing for the attention of the same woman.
Rabbi Friedman.
But yeah, we need mentors, which means we need to respect people who are superior to us. And that goes against the grain of this whole equality business, where God forbid to think that somebody is superior, as if that's a threat to society. In fact, it's the biggest blessing.
Rabbi Friedman, I'm just curious, from all the people that were surveyed, when women were surveyed, 51% of unmarried women said that they were patriotic, versus 70% of married women said they were patriotic. So there's a really a big difference between unmarried women being less patriotic than married women. What would you attest this to?
Just the zeitgeist. It's cool to say I'm not patriotic.
Just that?
I don't think they even have a good definition for patriotism. But when you do that kind of a survey, you don't know who you're asking. You don't know who you're talking to. So you really should be a little more definite. Explain what you mean by patriotism, and then you'll get a more honest answer.
Well, the exact definition of patriotism is pride and devotion to one's homeland.
Right. But to the average kid on the street who hasn't read a book in the last 5 years, you should ask, do you like living here, or is there another country you'd rather live in? You got to dumb it down for people, because the word patriotism is too big. They don't know how to spell it.
Well, I got to say, Lev Tolstoy, who wrote War and Peace, was very much against patriotism, because his position on that was that it's divisive between countries. To be a patriot of one country, meaning think that your country is better than other countries. And of course, that would bring divisiveness among countries. However, now patriotism divides our country, our nation, right here in the United States.
So it's the old argument. Is it the patriotism that's dividing us, or the lack of patriotism? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? No, I think back in those days, patriotism was a scary thing, because it was assumed to mean my country, right or wrong. That is scary, dangerous, as we learn. The Nazis' excuse for what they did was, we're following orders. My country told me to do it, so I do it. Yeah, that's scary. But it doesn't mean that patriotism is bad. It's the abuse of patriotism that's dangerous. That we don't suffer from here in America. My country, for better or for worse, very little of that. And the division between countries, that's the way it's supposed to be. You take away the division between countries, and there are no countries. There's just one big human population, and nobody knows how to run their lives, how to succeed, what to succeed at. Nobody counts anymore. If you're one of 7 billion people, you might as well disappear. No, your insignificance is devastating. So we do break down into smaller portions so that we can remain a little relevant. And also, competition is a very healthy thing. If I'm proud of my country and I want my country to succeed and excel, that's very healthy. Like with any competition.
Rabbi Friedman, America was built on morals, on values, and this is what people were, I think, were most proud of. The fact that it's a Puritan country, that it puts family first, that it's takes care of its own citizens, and probably the second has not changed. Over the last 2 years, we have seen this country taking care of its citizens very well. Economically, for sure. COVID didn't affect anything, yet patriotism fell tremendously. Would you say it's due to the family values that have radically changed over the last 2 years?
If you think about it, what is so terrible, what is so destructive about the absence of a moral code? It's not immoral. There's just no emphasis. There's no clear moral code for people to live by. Well, would that be terrible? Because that's what we're living with. A vague, undefined morality. Up for grabs. Whatever you think is right. Whatever you think is moral. We're learning, we're seeing, we're experiencing the devastation that brings. You might even argue that it's worse than immorality. I hate to make arguments in favor of Nazism, but look how united the country was. When you have a clearly defined goal, a clearly defined value, people rally around it. And the more appealing that value is, the more people will rally. And you will get a consensus, and the country will work in harmony. People will all be on the same page, all supporting the same progress or the same behavior, activity, and you accomplish an amazing amount. So what's happening is, I don't know if patriotism is the first victim of this lack of morality or clarity. But certainly for a long, long time now, the average kid walking the streets has no idea what's up and what's down, what's positive, what's negative, what's right, what's wrong. No idea whatsoever. So it gets reduced down to, I can do what I want. In many ways, he was told that. That was the message that the society, media, conveyed to him. You can do what you want. Well, that's what they're doing. Now we're all upset. Who did this to our children? That's really the bottom line question. Who or what destroyed lives for our children? They have no lives. And it's so easily fixable. But nobody's fixing.
Rabbi Friedman, please, how is it fixable? It seems like it's way out of our hands at this point.
I think it's easily fixable because despite all the evidence, I'm still convinced that everyone has a an idealistic side to them that isn't being tapped, isn't being challenged, isn't being activated. But as soon as somebody taps into that, as soon as somebody calls for the idealism that young people have, they're going to snap right to it. They're going to be so excited about it. And with all their youthful enthusiasm, they're going to throw themselves into the task that is idealistic, that is ennobling, that is uplifting. And overnight, things can turn around. It's not that we have an evil agenda. It's that we have no agenda. There's no agenda for the average person. There are people, opportunists, who are taking advantage of this state of mind, and they're using it brilliantly towards evil ends or selfish ends. But the average kid in the street just doesn't know whether he's coming or going.
Rabbi Friedman, what you just said right now is what pretty much people are guessing. There's no real proof, and a lot still say that this is a conspiracy that people are going with. How can we be, everybody's saying it, but it's not so definite yet. How should we treat that?
What, that there are some people who are taking advantage?
Yeah, we see it, we're guessing it, but the news is not picking it up. It's not a definite, it's not something that we can say, yeah, here's the proof, this is 100% what is happening to our country or to the world. But, and a lot of people will say, you guys are conspiracists, there's no proof. If there's no proof, then, this is a conspiracy theory. How do we go about, proving our theory?
Yeah. Well, the details might be fanciful or fictional, but it can't be any other way. There's no way that you can have a situation like this, a vulnerability, and no one is taking advantage. It's as guaranteed as gravity. Where there is a moral vacuum, somebody is going to come in and take advantage. I remember back in the 60s and 70s, there was this thing called cults. What happened was, very perceptive people came to the United States and took one look at what was going on and said, these people are spiritually starved. They have nothing spiritual going on in their lives. I bet if we started a spiritual movement, we could become really rich. And so they did. They came with some spiritual message. Some of it was valid. Some of it was just mumbo jumbo. And they all succeeded. Where there is a vacuum, somebody is going to take advantage. As guaranteed as gravity.
Today's situation seems like the masses are taking advantage because realistically, everyone at this point who feels like the government is doing something wrong, printing too much money, eventually going to hurt the economy, should say, no, I'm okay. I don't want this. There were people after the Holocaust when Germany was giving money to the victims said, listen, I wasn't there. I shouldn't get it. Who is wrong? Who's right? Should people, if it's being given away and it's going to go to someone anyway, shouldn't it go to me? Or should people take a stand in order for morality to get up to a certain level again? And again, who is the judge? Who is the one who's going to decide and lead this movement? Or at least, how do people know right from wrong in anything these days?
That is such a scary question. If we have to ask that, we are in such trouble. Not only don't we have moral teachings, we don't even know who to ask. Wow. But look at the comparison to the cults. The average person in the street has no personal or original language. They all sound the same. That's a definite symptom of a cult. Everybody uses the same words, the same language, the same argument, the same emotion. We're living a cultish life. So if you belong to this group, you're so predictable. Everything you say and how you say it is so predictable because you sound like everybody else in your group. And on the other side, exactly the same thing, but the opposite. So it's not the average person who is running the show. The average person is being run, is being used and manipulated and programmed, brainwashed, whatever you want to call it. But it is scary to see how everybody sounds the same. I'll tell you an interesting story. There was a guy, his name was Good Gold. He was the manager of the Shana Na rock group. He related this little incident. He said that he had studied with a rabbi something that really caught his attention, where the sages say, when a human being creates a mold, and then that uses that mold to produce a product, all the products are going to look alike, because it's all from one mold. How else could it be? However, God used one mold to create human beings. The mold was, let us make man in our image. And yet, no two people are alike. He thought that was fascinating. That was beautiful, wonderful. But part of his job as the manager of this group was to make sure that they show up at their performance venues, right? Because they would party all night, and if left to themselves, they would never show up. You see, he babysat them every night. One night, they went to a certain nightclub in New York, and when he walked into the club and looked around, he said, "Oh my God, 2,000 years of Jewish wisdom just went down the drain. Everybody in this room is alike." And it scared him. And he asked himself, am I part of this? From then on, he would not go anywhere without taking along a pair of tefillin. He didn't put them on every day, but just having them with him assured him that he is not a clone or a brainwashed member of a cult, that there's still something original about him or independent or something. But it is scary to look around and see how there's no originality. It's so predictable. If you belong to this group, you sound like you belong to that group. And you can't think differently. You can't. It's not a pretty scene. But going back to your question,
yeah.
Where do we find the teachers? Where do we get the information? So the first thing is we have to start respecting the more intelligent and the more noble. We have forgotten how to respect. And that's a dangerous failure. Where's the respect? No, you can't respect anybody because that means that some people are better than others. Well, some people are better than others. And some people are radically better than others. Thank God for that. Well, we don't respect it.
Rabbi Friedman, I'm going to throw the last survey into our conversation. Not sure what this means either, but in terms of political ideology, conservatives are 81% proud to be an American versus moderates who are 66% proud and liberals who are 55% proud. Not sure why there is such a big separation there as well.
I'm not sure either. but it certainly indicates that the more values you have in your life, the more patriotic you're going to be. Right? Isn't that what?
That's a great conclusion.
The more traditional.
That's a great conclusion. I like that.
The more traditional a person's thinking is, the more likely he is to support his country or his wife.
Rabbi Friedman, amazing. We needed this conversation because we need to understand where we are, what is happening to our country, our morals, our values, and how to function in this environment. And you certainly bring that wisdom to us on a weekly basis, and so much appreciated on behalf of our entire community. Thank you so much, and we'll let you go and do the even much more important work that you do, which is right now, I believe you're in doing seminars with young ladies, teaching them the values, and very, very jealous. Wish could be a part of it, but we're grateful that you're a part of this, and this is amazing.
You wish to be a teenager again?
Absolutely. When we want.
Tell me, at this hour of the day, do you have a completely different listenership?
I think so. Yes. So we'll find. Yeah, I think it's important actually to mix it up a little bit, and we'll find out the response to this time slot soon. I will definitely let your team know how it worked out, and so grateful again for you to make time out for us and give us this such important insight into world wisdom and the real truth.
The truth. Those are dangerous words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. Till next Tuesday. Till next, thank God it's Tuesday. All the best. Thank you so much.